Hello and welcome back to the J&Z podcast. And today we're going to be talking about The Flash. Now, before I get into it, we're only talking about the film, nothing about talking about acting quality and everything, nothing about actors or anything out behind the scenes, just about the film, just letting y'all know. But even the film's like review itself, people either seem to like this movie or they seem to not like this movie, and I for one thought it was really funny. I really liked this
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah, I know. I went and saw this day one because I wanted to support my friend, the myth, the legend, Michael Keaton. And I told you it was actually not as bad as what people were making out to be. And you didn't believe me until you went and saw it weeks later.
No, I was genuinely shocked. The CGI is as bad as they say, except for the ending, I think. Let's get that out of the way. The CGI in the beginning is atrocious. I don't care what. The Speed
It's
Force
very
area is
bad.
not so bad. Like, you can kind of just play that off as more like Time Mannequin, whatever. It's not supposed to be real people. But the babies, man, they just, oh my goodness, they
They
look
were
so
horrifying.
bad. And they did not help by cutting to like actual footage of real babies immediately afterwards.
Yeah, like when he takes the baby out of the microwave and then I
What?
can't get that meme out of my head. He takes the baby out of the microwave and then it just cuts back to a real
It's a
baby,
real
and
baby.
it was the weirdest cut in the world.
The one thing though about it is it's kind of the theme for the whole movie is that it's kind of bad, like in this movie. Some of the plot elements are not the best. Some of the ideas aren't the best, but it has its own kind of charm. The fact that the CGI was so bad that it was kind of funny actually made this movie kind of funny and kind of charming in that regard. I
Hmm.
really, we were just laughing at how goofy it looked. This whole time I was laughing at this movie.
Yeah. I didn't think the CGI in the beginning was the worst. Like usually when people are pointing out to how bad the CGI is, or if like you see like a short video of it, that's just that beginning like 10 minutes, as well as anytime he's in that time travel vortex.
That one I
Uh
can chalk off to just being not real people. They're not supposed to look
I
real. That's
guess, but
I
it
get
just
you.
seems like an excuse to,
It is.
just kind of brush off the CGI. I'm not really falling for it. But that being said, like everything with like Michael Keaton and Supergirl and like the action from like the middle to the end, I thought was good.
It was
I mean,
passable.
it was, yeah,
Wasn't
it
the
was
best,
CGI.
but it
Like, I
worked.
mean, yeah, I thought it was fine.
The story itself is kind of contradictory, and it just kind of is. It's not the strongest story by any means, but it gets the job done, and it opens itself up to some pretty interesting concepts I like to see. The
Yeah.
whole the problem with it is the whole idea of you're not supposed to be able to change the past. They're kind of what makes you you. And the fact that he does change the past at the end of the movie doesn't they played it for a laugh, but it didn't reflect super well on that. It was kind of a weak ending story wise, but it kind of makes up for it by being fun to watch.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, this isn't anything incredible. Like, if I was to say what was the best thing about it or what I liked the most about it, it was Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl.
Yeah, they were cool.
But I didn't think the story was anything terrible like people were saying it was. I actually think the story was kind of great for once. We having these, yes, it's another world-ending story, but at the center of it, it's a very personal story for Barry Allen.
Yeah.
It's about his trying to save his mother from dying and his father from being framed for it. I thought that was just a breath of fresh air.
And I like that they didn't lean too heavy into it. They always do that with the Flashpoint storyline, kind of. They just always talk about it's like I don't know if this really was. This might have been Flashpoint. I don't know if it's exactly 1-to-1 though. I don't think so. But they always kind of just go into the whole like murder thing and all this other stuff. That was just kind of pushed past. But I like that he was able to have some moments with his mom. They actually did feel pretty
Hmm.
meaningful. So that was a decent setup to just get that all laid out. I feel.
Yeah, and I thought like the personal stuff was nice. Like, uh, you know, I thought Ezra Miller did a pretty good job with the emotional stuff. I don't think it was anything amazing, but I mean, I kind of felt for him at the end when he had to say goodbye to his mom and everything.
Yeah, I agree. I still think Grant Gustin. I've he was the one thing that made that Flash CW show pretty good. That the
Mm.
show itself was, but I always liked him as the Flash. But I don't think Ezra Miller did a terrible job by any means.
Yeah, I seriously don't think they have casted the right Flash yet for anything. I just don't see when I look back at all the different actors, whether it be with the original or the CW show or uh, the stuff from Smallville or the DCEU. I just don't really like any of the actors that played any of them. I don't know. It's just me. I just didn't like any of the actors really. It's not that they were bad at acting. I just don't see the Flash in any of them.
I can respect that. What did you think? So one of the most split topics was some people found the two Flashes to be extremely annoying, or they found them to be funny. I lean more on the funny side. But do you feel like, especially his other universe clone or whatever, do you feel like he was too much in the stupid side, or what are your thoughts?
I don't know. It's been a while since I saw this and since we're recording, but I didn't find him as annoying as people were saying. But at the same time, he did have some misses for me. I thought that laugh that he did was kind of stupid.
I know,
I
but
mean,
it made it funny.
it was funny in some parts when he did it, but at the same time, they used it a little too much, I thought. And I don't know. There was a few moments I didn't totally agree, but I wasn't like hating it, if that makes any sense. There was just a few moments that didn't work for me.
I'm totally with you. I just think they did miss some jokes, but the jokes themselves were just so kind of corny that they just made me laugh too. I just like how this movie, for whatever reason, was able to turn just the less than ideal parts, like they're almost kind of self-aware of it to the point where it's actually kind of funny. I just appreciate the movie being able to do that. Some people I just don't think got that same impression as me, but I really did think this movie was super entertaining to watch.
Oh, no, I'm with you. Like, I'm not ever looking for something cinematic, as people say, or oh, it's cinema like Martin Scorsese style. But you go to the movies to be entertained, and I was thoroughly entertained with this. There was just a few things that weren't the best.
Yeah,
Um, I guess let's break it down, just like scene by scene. Like, so in the beginning, um, it's Ben Affleck's Batman and Ezra Miller's The Flash trying to stop a bank robbery, if I'm guessing correctly.
I don't know. Yeah, it might be something like that. And then the hospital. Well, some for some reason, yeah, somebody Batman's on the case. He's tracking him down, but they blew up a hospital for some reason. just I don't know if they go too into depth, but yeah. And then it kind of starts with Barry's dad on trial too, and he can't miss the court case, I believe, or maybe he's late for work. One of those two things. Both of those are kind of happening, but he has to be the Flash and then go save the hospital and the coffee thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Like oh, that you have to remember that coffee scene. I was not looking forward to that movie at that point. That was
For the
not a
coffee
great.
scene?
Yeah, at the coffee shop.
Oh, yeah, in the beginning
Oh
when the
my gosh,
guy's
I
like,
was so
"Oh,
worried
yeah."
after watching that. That was the one part that I'm like, oh, that's not great.
Yeah, those jokes kind of flopped for me too. Um, I don't know. I like that there was a lot of different people in this movie. You have Gal Gadot come back as Wonder Woman, even though
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't like her as Wonder Woman. It was kind of a nice surprise to see her.
She looks like a good
Uh,
Wonder Woman, but her acting is not my favorite most of the time.
she's a terrible actor, and she just doesn't look like Wonder Woman, in my opinion.
She looks just like her. She just does not act like her.
Nah,
But
man, you
to
need someone a little more beefy.
I guess, but they had to put her in there. They made some kind of tacky jokes with the lasso of truth. Um, they were
Oh yeah, that was
kind
kind of
of
stupid.
it was kind of stupid, just a tiny bit funny, but mostly stupid, I will say.
Yeah. I
But
don't know. I thought like the stuff with Batman, the Ben Affleck stuff was kind of cool in the beginning, like when he was on the Bat Cycle, like, and it was doing all the special moves and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool.
yeah, yeah, no, that was fun. I like watching Batman like chase down bad guys.
Hmm. Not as great as the Batman, but it's still entertaining.
It was that part kind of helped the beginning ease into it. So
Hmm. Yeah. So then that's when there's like a night that he gets super upset because of what happens at the court case. There's like some flash drive that they can't encrypt, so his dad goes to jail because of it, or his bond is postponed, right?
yeah, yeah, because they found the security footage of the night it happened, but his dad never looked up so that they couldn't prove it was him buying the beans. That was the whole thing. His dad couldn't have been at the house because he was out getting groceries.
Yeah.
So it was never on camera.
Yeah,
So,
and so then
yeah.
I think like he gets super upset and he just like runs real fast. He like runs the fastest that he's ever run.
Mhm.
And that's when he goes into like a time warp.
Yeah, he goes into the Speed Force.
Yeah, some I forgot how they explained it, but he just runs so fast he goes into a way that he can rewind time.
And yeah, he starts running, and he's going back in time to the night it happened, where all of a sudden a masked figure, who is another Flash, kicks him out of the time thing out of nowhere into a certain point in time in a different parallel universe where he changes things. So that's the kind of how the plot really starts.
Yeah, and that's when it started to actually get going for me because in the beginning I mean, wasn't awful, but it just was kind of like the most traditional DC movie. Um but that's when it started to really get going for me. And it was interesting once you introduce the double flashes, and finally we get to Michael Keaton. So it starts to pick up the pace a little bit there.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I think he goes back in time first, and then he buys the whatever, so his dad never has to go to the grocery store fixing it. And then as he's going forward in time, then the thing kicks him out of the way
Yeah.
so that he's stranded basically. To where he's able to live his life with his mom and dad again. It's all great until he meets his self that is not the Flash quite yet. And I thought that part was good. I thought the whole interaction was kind of awkwardly kind of fun. Him not him in that fish out of water scenario was kind of neat. I just thought they did a good job with it. No complaints there.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot bad that I can say about this movie. Once that occurs, I think there was a really funny joke where he the Flash in the parallel universe that he runs into doesn't have powers yet, so he's like, all right, we gotta give you powers, so we're gonna do exactly what I did. And he takes him to the science laboratory and he's like, all right, you're gonna get struck by lightning. And he's like, what? And that happens, but in that point, uh because they're together or something, I forget the explanation for it, but the real Flash loses his powers, but the alternate Flash gains his. So it's kind of like a switch scenario.
Right. It makes sense because this is going to be his past who doesn't have the powers, and so he kind of wants the powers, of course it's the day of, but he's not at the laboratory working on his dad's case, so he's not in the lab and everything. So, yeah, if that guy doesn't get powers, he doesn't get powers, so he can't go back home. And so that's kind of how that works or whatever. Well, I don't know about that, but he has to do it. And then yeah, the lightning strikes. It basically gives his powers to the old one, so now he can't run fast and the other one can. But the other guy's an idiot. So and that's
Yeah, and so then that's when Zod comes back, and that's when it started to get really good. I'm like, ooh, what are we gonna do here? Zod from Man of Steel comes in because it's around the same time frame,
mhm.
and I forget if they try to help out first.
The problem is the other Barry's an idiot and he just does not know. He phases through the floor. He loses clothes all the time. He actually burns them off. He just is not
Oh,
quite
that
getting the
was
whole.
funny.
It was so funny. He just causes all this mayhem. He's just sitting there just watching.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
Uh, so then they decide, okay, we got to get Superman, but in this alternate universe, Superman hasn't really shown himself yet.
Mm-hmm.
So the one Barry is confused. He's like, "Who's Superman?"
Or Aquaman
And
or anyone. The Justice League just wasn't there.
yeah, and so then he goes and he's like, "Do you have Batman at least?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we got a Batman, but nobody knows who he is." And that's when they go, and it ends up being a version of Michael Keaton's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a version. It's not the original. I think they made that very quite clear. This isn't the original Tim Burton version. It's a version of Tim Burton's version in an alternate universe.
Yeah, it's him in an alternate universe where if he actually did save Gotham, it's actually one of the better cities, so he's just kind of chilling.
Yeah. I don't know if I liked I liked it and I didn't like it what they did with his character.
I know, I'm a little split too. But
Uh him having long hair and like acting like an animal was kind of funny. But at the same time, it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
no,
Uh,
no, he was a bit too eccentric to be Bruce Wayne, but it
yeah,
doesn't
but
matter
it,
that much. It was fine.
yeah, no, it was fine. I was having fun with it. It's Michael Keaton, and they're like, "All right, can you help us?" And he's like, "All right, whatever." They just Michael Keaton just joins them and to rescue Superman from this
He says the
big
line.
safe. Oh yeah, he says the line. He's like, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts."
Yep.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun with Michael Keaton. Um, I appreciated that they just made him amazing. Like when he's fighting like 8 guys at the same time, he just whoops everyone's butt and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's cool. Um, I liked I liked the whole Batcave thing. I love that Batcave, by the way. Like that is probably like
Mhm.
just the coolest setting ever.
Michael Keaton,
It's so
best
good.
Batman interpretation.
It's so good. And yeah, they're like, what? Well, they still need to defeat Zod, right? Because Superman, in the movie defeats him, but he's not around, so they had. It's like a stupid Flash and old Batman ain't gonna quite cut it, so they have to go find Supergirl, which is just I like that plot point. I think it worked honestly. This whole time I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense and it's kind of funny. So they go rescue her from some Russian facility, and then
Well,
she's oh.
at first um they don't know it's Supergirl. They think it's Superman because they all they know is that like it's some super being in a Russian facility. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when um they go and they find like the giant Bacta tank or whatever, and it's just her in it, uh, you know, just shivering in a corner. And another line like I didn't agree with was the berries are like, "We gotta help her," and Batman's like, "Just leave her." Like that didn't make any sense to me. Um, but they save
Well,
her.
at that
They
okay, well, at that point he's old. The other one doesn't have powers. The other one got shot in the leg because he thought he wasn't. He just didn't think he could. That's just
Oh
so
yeah, that was
funny.
kind of funny when the berry's like, "I got this, don't worry."
He gets shot.
Yeah,
It's
that was kind of
actually a
funny.
really funny movie. I really like it.
Yeah, it got a few laughs out of me. Um,
But then,
So then they rescue Supergirl, and there's that cool action scene on the roof when she gets her powers from the sun finally, and her and Batman are kind of whooping everybody's butt. So that was kind of cool.
and then, I do like that. I do like the direction they went to an extent. The initial saying, I was like, "Why would I want to help you guys? You literally imprisoned me for years." It's
Hmm.
like, well, that's a lot more realistic, don't you think? Like, the only thing that didn't really help it was the fact that they reversed that super quick, but at least it made sense at the time.
Yeah, and I didn't even mind that it was like a super quick reverse, or if they would have said, "Okay, I will join you." Um, I really like this interpretation of Supergirl.
Yeah, no qualms there.
Yeah, she didn't have like a character in this necessarily, but she was a good Supergirl in my opinion. Like she just fit the role.
Mm-hmm. No, that was a great actress. Sorry, she just did a great job. I have no complaints with most of the casting decisions, especially her. So, but
Yeah.
while she's out there doing what she's gonna do to eventually come back around, I do think that they semi introduced the fact that because Barry couldn't tell him why he was there and why he had to get powers and why, anything about his mom basically dying. I don't mind the way that he learns about it. Just kind of just hiding there eating. I don't know what he was eating, but it was probably a banana because he's goofy. But just him telling Batman just why him being able to open up to someone, but the other one kind of getting the message, kind of growing up. It led to the end of the movie being a lot more compelling with him making sure that that's able to stay the same, and then the other one, it kind of sets up the end of the movie while still making the other goofy Barry more mature. So I think that was a good decision.
Yeah, and I mean the one Barry's like, all right, I got to get my powers back somehow. So he
Hmm.
hooks himself up to like some saw contraption,
Yeah, with the bat kite.
and yeah, and they Benjamin Franklin a kite up to get, because there's like a storm out, so they
They put all the
try to
chemicals
have,
up next to
yeah,
him.
like they blast him with chemicals and they're like trying to get him electrocuted, and they do it a few times and he's dying. They do it like 5 times, and Supergirl comes in. She's like, uh, I will save you. And she brings him up to the heavens, and that's when like a lightning bolt comes in and shoots him and he gets his powers back. A little silly, but I mean it works in the movie.
I thought it was nice. I didn't mind that at all.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's where the kind of the middle part ends, and then the final bit of the movie starts. They go out, go fight Zod, and it doesn't go very well, to say the least. Which is kind of
Y-
goofy, but
yeah. Yeah, I was kind of surprised at the way they were doing this fight, because they they all die basically is
yeah,
the best way to put it.
Supergirl learns that Kal-El died. She was supposed to take care of him, and the device or whatever that he needs to finish his plan of leveling the Earth and turning it into Krypton 2. Um, he needs her basically to die to use it for what it's a MacGuffin item. It's whatever, and he beats her, and then the Batman's the bat or Michael Keaton's Batman. He dies doing cool stuff, but
He does. I love the way he dies the first time. I was a little irritated because it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me the first time he died, because he's in the the Batcopter,
I love watching
and
him
he,
rotate that thing around. He's just having fun
dude,
with it. It was so funny.
dude, I got so excited when he was in the Batcopter, and all of a sudden the Danny Elfman music was just ba-da-da-dun, dun, da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun. And then he's like shooting everybody. Like that was awesome. And then the second later, they shoot him down and he dies. I was so mad. I was like, oh, you can't do that to Michael Keaton.
Yeah, and I like the
But
way
they rectify it.
I like the way they set it up because initially the way they fight the two Barry Allens, the two Flashes, they don't do so hot. But they think, "Hey, this didn't go so well, but we can just go back in time and fix it."
Hmm.
And so they do. They try again. They fight a little bit better. He gets a scar or something, and they try to just change things up. They try to find a way to fix it, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, so Supergirl dies once again, because when they reversed it, they go back to the beginning of the fight. So Supergirl dies once again, but the way Batman goes out the second time was the coolest thing I've ever seen
Was it him
Batman do on
fighting that
screen.
guy?
Yes,
Yeah.
because first of all, his bat thing gets shot down again, but this time he jumps out when he rotates it down.
It's even better.
He
He's just like,
he
"Hey, Batman, don't shoot that thing." He's like, "Okay," and he just flies past it.
That was kind of funny, but I loved it because he's got his cape and he flies down almost. But then,
Yeah.
one of Zod's henchmen, I always forget the big guy's name, but it's the biggest and the baddest Kryptonian, and he walks up to Batman, and Batman jumps over him and starts placing like 50 detonators all over him and just blows it up. And then he jumps over him again and starts putting more detonators on him. And he kills the one guy, but then I guess Batman has like a heart attack or something like that, and he just keels over, and then he has like a heart to heart with Barry.
Yeah, no,
But
he
that
keels
was super
over,
super
but then
cool.
the other guy stands back up, and then there was just one last bomb. Just how you know how he does it. It was so fun.
Yeah, I love that he went out with a bang, and that like he was able to get like a really cool scene before this version of Michael Keaton died.
Yeah, and well, I don't quite remember the heart to heart with Barry, but I'm sure it happened.
Yeah, he says something. I forget what it was, but it was some heart to heart, and that's when Barry realizes this is like a set moment in time that
It's a
this
canon
universe
event.
is. Da-da-da-da-da. Idiot Barry Allen is like, no, 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 we can change this or whatever, and he
Because
keeps.
he's like, we have to say, I'm not going back. My mom, I can not. He's basically like, I can't kill my own mom, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
basically, which makes
Yeah,
sense.
and yeah. So then he like reverses time again, like the stupid Barry reverses it like 500 times.
Yeah.
The bad thing is every time he reverses time, he gets more like battle damaged or whatever. So like one of them, he's got like a severed arm with a chunk of metal sticking out. The next one, his eye's missing or something like that.
And he somehow gets weaker and stronger each time, apparently, but that's in a bit.
Yeah, I don't question it. You don't.
This is where the movie kind of begins to lose me almost. Was I
Hmm.
kind of get it, but it almost feels pointless. This is kind of the part. But eventually, that creature that knocked Barry out, he appears, and he's like, just one more time, and they realize that it's the stupid Barry after like eons of trying over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to even exist in the first place, he needed to. It's one of those like paradox things where it's like if it didn't happen, but if it didn't happen before, it's one of those kind of time travel ones where it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, which is fine. But
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. It was a nice little like concept. It was kind of like, oh, the true villain was Barry the whole time, so it was kind of cool.
and the part that kind of loses me though is him doing this is causing all the multiverses to collapse,
Okay,
which was had one good
I
part, but
this would have worked so much better if the CGI was a little better. Specifically for this, I'm agreement with you where when he's in that little vortex and the guys are moving into each other, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, that could have been the moment he was trying to explain where it's like, oh yeah, the CGI looks terrible on purpose. But I won't excuse the terrible CGI for all the cameos because
the planets themselves look kind of cool, but once you zoomed in on them, it wasn't that great.
yeah, so you get like the original, I think it's the George Reeves Superman.
Mm-hmm.
You get that one. You get the original Batman. Um, you then get Christopher Reeves in all his glory with the Supergirl as well, and that was really cool. Our theater applauded for that. You get you all of a sudden you get this planet where it's like really dark,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this giant robot spider, and you're like, what the heck? And there's a Superman battling it, and it turns around, and it's Nicolas Cage as his canceled Superman movie
I was
version.
about to say I don't know the reference, but I was thinking it has to be referencing something.
It is because in the 90s,
Don't
you know
tell
how
me.
Tim Burton did Batman and Batman Returns?
Yep.
They were going to do a Superman movie with Nicolas Cage when he was really hot in the 90s.
Yikes.
No, no, no. It could have been good. It could have been good. I could see what they were going for once I saw this little section of the movie. I'm like, could have worked. But that was super, super cool because that's like some deep DC lore right there for some DC fans.
And even then, even for me, it was hilarious. It's gonna be funny for anyone though. That's the nice thing about it.
I guess I didn't laugh at it. I thought like they,
It wasn't.
I just,
Yeah, it was
I
just
was
so
more
goofy. It caught me so
dumbfounded
off
than
guard.
anything. Yeah, I was more dumbfounded than anything, really. I was like, man, they got him. Like, that's weird. And then I don't think there's any other cameos.
Oh, there's one, but we'll get to that one.
Well, that's at the end, but
Yeah.
I don't think in like the planet vortexes.
I'm sure we missed
They
some,
basically show like they basically show all the versions of the characters that have been over the years, except for like the TV show versions.
Yeah, I think you're right. So
They don't show Smallville, they don't show the CW shows, but they show like all the other versions of the live action.
yeah, and at that point, the movie wraps up. The dumb Barry or whatever, he decides he isn't going to continue, so the guy doesn't exist anymore, and everything's right in the world. He goes back. His mom's still dead. His dad's still going to prison. And that's kind of how that cookie crumbles, Everything's back to normal, except for here's where they almost lose me again. They kind of
No.
no,
Remember they go into court and
yeah. This is where they lose me. You think everything's normal, except for you learned that Barry didn't learn anything, and he moved the can. Oh no, sorry, this is my bad. He goes back in time, and he takes the beans out of his mom's shopping cart, and he has that whole emotional moment with her. You remember this?
Oh yeah, and then he
Which is
goes over
pretty
to like,
nice. Like, it's a good moment.
oh yeah. That moment was pretty good. His mom's a really nice person.
Except for they undermine it because apparently he then puts the beans on the top shelf. So you get to the
Yeah.
courtroom and they showed the footage and he's like, "Oh, he looked up, it's him."
Yeah.
And
I
the
don't
whole
mind
point of the
that.
movie was you can't change the past. But okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't really mind that much. I thought it was just kind of like a moment to make you feel good about the movie at the end.
The problem was, but it doesn't make you feel good because the whole point of the movie, for one, the movie by itself, even if he just went back and had to deal with it, isn't like it's still like like nothing happened in the movie basically, but you make it extra nothing by making him not learn from his lesson for the point of one joke basically,
Yeah, I guess.
which isn't my
I don't
favorite
know.
thing, but it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it didn't really bother me that much. I didn't even like think about it, really.
Yeah. But they did it all to set up one joke right at the end.
Oh my gosh. It was the greatest joke in cinema history. I don't think I've ever laughed harder in the theater of any movie. So he walks out of the courtroom after the victory of his father's case. And all of a sudden he gets a call from Bruce Wayne. And he's like, Bruce, I've done all this stuff. I've traveled in time. There's so much to talk about with you. And he's like, oh, I'm pulling up right now. And his car pulls up. And all of a sudden, out walks George Clooney from Batman and Robin.
Oh goodness. And yeah, and that's where he
And that's where the movie
again.
ends.
Yeah, and that's where it ends. He didn't learn his lesson. Things changed because he messed with time, and yeah.
Yeah, so you don't really know where it's going next, but I mean, like,
I don't think it's
obviously
going
you
anywhere
have
next,
James.
but
Well, yeah, you have James Gunn's universe with Superman Lives.
yeah, that's another blow. Is it doesn't matter, and even in the grand scheme of the universe, they're gonna reset it all.
Yeah, and that's the bad thing, but I did like this movie.
I did too. The post-credit scene was kind of lame. It was less funnier than most of the jokes in the movie. If you stayed for it, it really wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, the post-credit scene was like Aquaman, like drunk or something like that.
And he falls asleep in a puddle, which we're making it sound funnier than it actually was. It really wasn't.
Yeah, it's
anything.
just
It's
like
kind of weird,
whatever.
but
Yeah, so like I mean, like all the cast members showed up, a ton of good cameos, except for Henry Cavill, obviously. But I mean, it wasn't as bad as people were making out to be. I don't think it deserved to bomb as hard as it did.
no, no, nothing like that. That's the kind of movie I wish DC made more of.
Yeah, if it did a little better and it just kind of barely made it over, like let's say it made close to 800 million, let's just say.
Yeah.
That's like barely making it on the budget that this movie was. Then I would have just shrugged my shoulders. Like, okay, yeah, that's about what I expected, but not bombing this hard. I think it made back its production budget, and that's it.
The combination of the controversies and then the audience not well and the critics not liking it it made a lot of people write it off, and I can't blame them. I was thinking the same thing till I saw it. So they did not do a great job with marketing, and there was a lot of factors that did not play into their favor. So
Yeah, I think the marketing leaned way too heavily with Michael Keaton. Now, obviously, that's a great thing for someone like me that's a massive Michael Keaton fan.
mhm.
But, I mean, for others that are maybe not as big of a Michael Keaton fan or not as big of a Flash fan, I don't blame them for not seeing it.
But yeah, at the end of the day though, too, I overall I think the movie was fun. The pacing was good. Didn't linger, and I would honestly see it again. Honestly, I just genuinely had a great time watching it. And even the stuff that was corny or weird, it kind of helped lend itself to being just kind of that bad funny kind of thing. So,
Yeah, there was a few jokes where it's like, are they messing with the audience or whatever? Because we know what's going on behind the scenes. It's
yeah.
it's like there's a few of those jokes, and I don't know. But overall, not the worst thing. In fact, I think it was. I like Shazam more, but I think it's the second best movie they've made.
It's been better than 99% of Marvel projects. I'd say it's bordering Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh no! I don't
No?
agree with that. I think it was better than a lot of the superhero movies in the last 5 years. I will say that. I don't think it's on par with Guardians 3, though.
I didn't get the feeling that I was missing something like I did with Guardians 3. Like as much as the DC universe isn't consistent, it hasn't been consistent since the beginning. So the movies are able to feel a lot more independent. Guardians 3, it kind of just feels lost in this sea of bad movies.
That's true, but I mean, if you look at it just by itself, like Guardians 3, that's what I did. I just looked at it by itself.
Yeah, but
I still like Guardians way better than this.
oh, Guardians is way better written than this. And it's a different kind of funny, but I still thought I enjoyed both of them in
Oh yeah.
similar.
There's no like throwing shade at this movie. It's still a good, solid movie. I think. I just wouldn't put it on par with Guardians. I don't even think this is gonna make my top 13 list.
No, no, it's not some piece of cinema that's this immaculate thing, but it was a good fun watch, so.
Yeah. It was entertaining.
Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of what I had to say about it. I think we did pretty good. I just really enjoyed watching it. That's kind of what I want to leave with, but anything else you got to think of, Seth?
No, not really. I mean, like they gave me exactly what I wanted with Michael Keaton. I thought some of the stuff with Supergirl was really interesting, and I thought she was a good Supergirl. Maybe she'll return for some future projects if that's what they have in mind. And I don't know. I'm still excited about James Gunn's new universe, but at the same time, I'm very hesitant
Mm-hmm.
because he said this movie was one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, and I'm just like,
A lot of
it's
a
good.
lot of A-list celebrities did too, and it's not, but I liked it more than most, so.
Yeah, I wouldn't put this on par with like the first Avengers or the original Superman
Or
or
Iron Man or.
Iron Man. Yeah, just it's not one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Don't believe what those people are saying. They probably never seen a superhero movie in their life.
Yeah, no. If the plot was a bit better on it, the jokes and the CGI, if it was just a bit more serious to an extent,
Yeah.
but only serious if everything else can scale in quality too, it probably would be up there though.
Yeah, it was good. Don't get us wrong. We're not trying to say it was awful, but and compared to a lot of the superhero movies, even coming from Marvel's slate, it's better than them.
Yeah, no. This is more interesting than anything they have coming out anytime soon.
Oh yeah, like it was better than practically all of their Phase 4 projects,
Yes.
and with the outlier being Guardians 3, I'd say it's better than any of their stuff they've got coming out anytime soon.
Yeah, it's better than No Way Home, I would say.
Yep,
Even
it's
with the
better
three
than No Way Home.
Garfield, that was a weaker story than this. So
I could see this movie again. Spider-Man No Way Home was like a watch it twice and I'm done. I never have to see that movie ever again.
yeah, the Marvel movies, they just have this weird feeling. Like I just can't shake it. There's just something off ever since Endgame. Like truly off.
It's the
It just
story and the characters, they're just not as good.
yeah, it just feels like it's just reaching in the dark. At least this one knows what it is, and it kind of leans into it, and it's just kind of fun in that regard. So.